Revelation chapter 13, 16 through 7. He causeth all, both small, great, rich, poor, free, and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, save he have the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now look here. There are three things linked to this system. What this is an economic system that develops when the Antichrist gets in full swing. And you have to have a name or a number. Now, how many of you know you're already known by your number? You got a license plate number, you got a phone number, you got a social security number, right? You got a street address number. I mean, let's just face it, we're not known by our name. Call somebody up. What's your number? What's your credit card number? What's your PIN number? What's your bank number? What's your number? Forget the name. You're known by your number already. But this gets more specific because it tells you that the mark is put in the hand. Now, before we share this with you and show you this, when the World Wide Web came into existence, it connects the entire world. It is the most phenomenal thing for preaching the gospel there has ever been. But how many of you know it can also be used for the opposite? We're finding that out, aren't we? Like the Craigslist killers. We're finding out it can be used for bad. But if you take the letters of World Wide Web and translate them to Hebrew, it's the letter Vav, Vav, Vav. Very simple. Look at this. And the Vav happens to be the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And so www translated back to Hebrew is Vav, 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 which are simply three letters, 666. Now, do I say the internet is that? Well, not really, because that's not a mark in your head or in your hand. Someone said, yeah, but you got a mouse in your hand moving around. No, that's not it. What this is, 6 is always the number of man or the number of mankind. This is simply showing you that this worldwide system is a man-made system that links man together. It's about man. Anthropos in Greek, and man. However, I want to show you something. I want to show you a scanner. Now, this is very similar to what I saw at Disney. Not the same one, but if you've ever been to Disney, we went to Disney. This is about 2 years ago. And if you stay on a resort there, they give you a card. All right, we're going through, and they say, would you insert your card and take your right hand and lay it on this scanner? I'm thinking, what is this? So I got my hand there, and I said to the guy, I said, what does this do? He said, it's a hand scanner. I said, I understand that, but what's this doing? He said, here's what it does. On your card, if you'll notice, there's a little, it's not a chip, but it's almost like a chip on the back. It's a small square area. And he says, this scanner puts numbers on all your fingerprints. And he said, then it's transferred to the card. So if you come to, he said, if somebody steals your card and tries to get in the card, all we do is put their right hand on the scanner, and we can say to them, ma'am, that's not your card. Where did you get that card? Because your numbers of your print are embedded on the card. I said, isn't that interesting? Thank Jesus. Now, in the natural, it's a great idea. You got to admit, nothing wrong with that technology because it's a great idea. Watch where it leads. You ready? Now, let me just give you this information again. Revelation 13 says there is a mark in the right hand or in the forehead. Now, this is bizarre. These are actual X-ray pictures. There is an RFID chip implant that over 2 million people now have. And it is implanted in one or two places. Most people have it implanted right between the thumb and the pointing finger in this area here. But you can also see where it's implanted here. It's the size of a piece of rice. Information, all this information about your history, your medical history, your social security card, all of that can be put very quickly on this chip. Now, I want to tell you a story that's a little hairy, and I want you to prepare yourself for this because this is a little bit hairy. A friend of mine flew on a plane with a man who is a doctor who is on the United States Medical Board. There's a board for the whole United States, the Medical Association. And he was flying from Pennsylvania, and I'm careful when I preach because what they will do is try to find out the flight, who the preacher was, and that's why I don't give names, because you can't believe, folks, what we've had to deal with. That's why I'm vague sometimes. The doctor is talking to the preacher, not knowing he's a preacher, and he says, I'm going to Orlando to meet with 3,000 doctors about the new chip. He said, what new chip? And he said, well, and he explained this right here, and he talked about there's a lithium battery. He said, but we've already tested it in people, and some blood types would reject it. Wonderful. It's funny. Some blood types would reject it. He said, but we think we've got it perfected now. He said, well, what's it for? They said, right under the hair lining of the forehead or in the right hand. And they talked about the body heat has to maintain a certain level for the battery to work. However, listen, if this breaks, the lithium battery creates, and here's a quote, a grievous sore. Now, if you know anything about the book of Revelation, it says those who have the mark, one of the judgments at the end of the tribulation is a grievous sore breaks out on those who have the mark of the beast. Because if you try to get that battery out and you break it, it does something. It does something to your forehead and your hand, and you get this terrible, terrible sore. Now, the doctor told the preacher, the government, the administration right now, and by the way, Obama didn't work on this. This has been worked on for years. But the administration wants this chip completed at the end of this year. And by 2012, every American, this is the doctor speaking, every American native-born must have this implant for security reasons. And it will have all your medical information, all your Social Security information. Now I'm going to flat tell you something. Because this is too much, like I read in the Bible. I ain't putting no chip in my head and in my hand. You'll have to chop this boy's head off at a guillotine before I'll do that. Because the Bible says those who take the mark will be tormented day and night forever, in hell or the lake of fire. So in other words, go do that. Now, on the Mississippi River, I was with the bishops, Darling Bishop, and she said, this is one of my church members told me this. Their son works on a barge on the Mississippi, and they came and said, we have to implant this chip in your hand. We got a scanner now, and you scan your hand, and it tells who you are, and you're the right person and everything. He said, I put no chip in my hand. And they tried to tell him, you got to, we're going to lose your job. He said, I'm not doing it. They said, well, then you'll have to use the card. And it cost him $850. Him, they didn't pay for it. They were going to pay for the chip, but he had to pay for the card. $850. It looks like gold foil on the back, and all the information's there. And he scans that card. Okay? And I had a man from the military. He said, don't you give my name, I can lose my job, from Hawaii, who sent me a copy of that card, and it's called the MARC Mark card. And that's an acronym for a certain type of card that's being used. Well, it sounds like we might be living in the last days. Hey! I'm just going to tell you the truth. Lord help me, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all this in or not. The thing that disturbs me now in the United States is people are so ignorant of the Bible. And I honestly think that there will be millions of Christians sitting in churches that would put that thing in their head and in their hand and say it's no big deal. Because let me tell y'all something about people. Ready? When it comes to feeding their kids or feeding themselves, I believe that America is so blind, they'll follow anybody. If they'll promise them money and food. Don't you let yourself be deceived by things that are happening. Jesus warned you. What is the greatest thing Jesus warned you of in the last days in Matthew 24, Luke? You would tell us deception. Forget the wars, rumors of wars, famines, and pestilence. He kept telling you, be not deceived. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. Men will try to deceive you. He said, many will come in my name saying, I am Christ, and deceive many. You know what that means? That does not mean many will come saying, I am Jesus, worship me. Read it in Greek. Many will come saying, I'm a Christian. I follow Jesus, and deceive people by telling them that. Oh, but they're a Christian. If they ain't got fruit on their tree, they ain't nothing. Good God, anybody can get in and say, I'm saved, I'm a Christian, glory to God. And I'm just going to tell you who the world's worst is. It's politicians. Because doesn't matter if it's a congressman, senator, or vice president, whoever it is, I've seen it for years, that they won't say anything about Jesus. They won't go to church all year long, but when election time comes, baby, here they come walking in the church. Everybody, oh, he a good man. Fooey on you. If you don't produce fruit, Jesus said you'll be hewn down and cast in into the fire. He's looking for fruit. He's not looking for people who profess it. He's looking for people who will live it. Anybody can profess it. Watch out now. I'm about to get happy. Right? You know what I'm talking about. You know I'm preaching the truth.